Stella Vermillion was able to score the highest score to join the Japanese Hagun Academy to become a knight. But Ikki Kurogane, having no talent, decides to become one too. As Kurogane returned home, he met this girl in her underwear. In the principal's office, it turns out that the girl was invited to raise her academic performance at the academy, and now Ikki will not live alone, but with Stella. The two cannot agree among themselves, which is why they decide to hold a fight between them, as a result of which the loser will be the servant of the winner. The battle begins, during which the loser's ability, stealing skills, is revealed. Thanks to her, the boy begins to dominate, but the scarlet-haired one is not going to give up. Thanks to all the vital energy thrown out, the gray-eyed man manages to overcome his opponent, but he himself falls exhausted. A little later, Red-Eyed comes to Kurogane. How he woke up, because he won, gave the only order to become his neighbor, because he wants to get along. The next day, Sister Ikki is supposed to enter the academy. In the lesson, I tell you that the selections for the Battle of the 7 Stars should begin soon. The 6 should become representatives of the school. A little later, Shizuku finds his brother and kisses him, after which there is an argument between a neighbor and gray-eyed sister. As a result, the two of them have to clean the toilet. In the evening, Stella finds out that her friend doubted his existence. She asks him a question, and he tells her a story. All his childhood he was looked at as an empty place, because he was deprived of talent, until one day. As he left during the celebration, after walking some distance, Petty Kurogane met Samurai Ryoma, who gave him motivation. Upon arriving home, Red-Eye decides to fulfill her duty as a maid. While discussing Vermillion's opponent, she tries to ask him out on a date, but does not have time to finish as Shizuku invites him. His neighbor Alice Ayanagi went with his sister. They are all having a good time, but the building is cordoned off and captured by criminals whose leader, Blazer. Stella helps people, and meets with Biss, who cannot cope with him and obeys. It was all according to plan and the white-haired one creates a barrier. Ikki engages in a battle in which he has the upper hand. It seems that everything is under control, but there was a spy in the hostages. Suddenly Kirihara appears from nowhere, who helps them. It turns out that the main character ran away when he found out that the fight was scheduled against Kirihara. And this time he was assigned to spar against him again. The scarlet-haired one wins her battle. Later it turns out that Shiriri and Alice also won. At home, the gray-haired man studies his opponent's fighting style. The next day, while jogging, Kurogane meets Pink-Eyed, and he explains what happened last year. The principal tried to get him out of school, and he became an easy target for a classmate. He began to harass him, but our hero did not dare to get into a fight with him. A little later, the fight begins, in which Gray-Eyed seemed to be losing, but after receiving a charge of motivation from his neighbor, he uses his perfect gaze technique and wins. In the evening, after waking up, he sees Stella on his lap, to whom he confesses his love, and she also does not lag behind and confesses. Together they promise to become stronger. Having won all the battles, Ikki is no longer a loser, but an uncrowned lord of the blade. He is now popular at school, so much so that after being attacked by his classmates, they become one of his students. Throughout the day, his girlfriend was in a misunderstanding of a couple or a couple of them, but at the end of the day, after talking, everything came to its senses. A little later, the following opponents of the couple become clear. People from the study council. Lovers defeat them quite easily. Going home, someone is watching Kuragawa. It turns out to be Ayase Ayatsuji. The gray-haired man knows and reveres her father, but as it turns out, an accident happened during one of his battles. Ayatsuji really wanted to train with our hero, but he doesn't refuse. During training, he realizes her main mistake, imitating her father. By changing the original Ayasaki stance, progress is immediately made. The couple talks sweetly at night. The next morning, Vermillion is already training the blue-haired one. In the evening, while in a cafe, some unknown group of people approaches them pestering a girl with bangs. Gray-Eyed protects her, but without resorting to a sword, despite all their actions. Suddenly, people from the training council of Utakata Misugi and Kanata Tachibara appear, who explain that the leader of that gang entered the top 7 at the 7 Stars duel. During the next day, it turns out that Ayatsuji also wants to get to the 7 Stars duel, but since her opponent is our hero, she doesn't have a chance. Ikki came to the place assigned to him by the blue-haired one. During the conversation, Violet-Eyed jumps from the roof, which is why Kurogane has to use Edishiro. This was her plan to weaken him for battle, because he can only use his trump card once a day. The next day, it turns out that Ayase's father fell into a coma after the battle with Kurashiki and all the possessions of their family passed to him. And my daughter just wants to go to the Battle of 7 to fight a rotten man. The battle begins. It turns out that the girl had set traps in advance, which is prohibited by the rules, but no one noticed it. Ikki is difficult, but thanks to his unusual defense he was able to fight. Even in advance, the gray-haired man agreed with the teacher so that he would not stop the fight, noticing the traps, because he wants to reach his new friend. Ideally, the vision gives him victory, after which he reaches Ayasa. Having come to the former house of the last samurai, the uncrowned lord of the blade challenges the sword eater, who agrees and sparring begins. Kurogane finds out the ability of his opponent's reflex speed, but this is not a technique, it is a gift that has been given to him since birth. The fight is so exciting that both duelists are completely ecstatic about the battle. Grey-Eye defeats Kurashiki using the technique of Kaido, Tremolo. The leader leaves, saying that they will meet during the Battle of the Seven Stars, and Ayatsuji's father comes out of his coma. After many victories, they are sent to a training camp. On the way there they notice the training council, and as it turns out they were sent to help them clean up this place to prepare it for training. After cleaning up, the couple decides to go for a walk. During the walk, Stella gets sick, and it also starts to rain. Having found a house, they rest there while they are being watched. A little later, they are attacked by monsters, but the council manages to come up to them and help. With them was their leader, the best of the Battle of the Seven Stars, Toka Tadu, which Shizuku will have to fight against. Everyone is worried about the hero's sister, but she wants to win in order to stay close to Ikki. The next day, the fight begins. Two girls flawlessly show their skills. It seems that the white-haired one is exerting power over the opponent, but the current is not so simple. She has the ability of Psycho's teacher, Nukiashi, in her arsenal. This technique allows you to hide your presence from the enemy's brain. It is difficult for the younger Kurogane. She is not going to give up and uses everything she has. But Tadu still wins. At the hospital, Shizuku worries about losing, but Alice calms her down. During the lovers' conversation, someone is watching them. In his office, the director asks Grey-Eyed about Akazoi, as it turns out this man is familiar with his father and he is a member of another branch of the Kurogane family. It turns out that he's sniffing around not far from the school. Next, Stella and Ikki spend time with the study council. During this, the owner of the sword reflects on what is his source of power. Returning home, they are met by friends who give them a newspaper to read, which contains a vile lie about their relationship. Suddenly, an assistant of the ill-fated family arrives. He takes our hero to the hearing. For several days, he was not only interrogated, but also forced to fight in qualifying matches. One day, he received Stella's hair, by which he realized that he should never give up. As a result, thanks to the director, he meets with his father, who explained to him that he didn't hate him, but was just a nobody. It was a very strong blow for his son. The last opponent for him will be Toda Toko. If he wins everything will stop, and if he loses, he will never be able to become a night magician again. The girl with glasses asks Shizuka to ask her brother not to participate in the battle, because he is in a bad condition. The last day of the qualifiers has arrived. To make life even more difficult, Kurogane decided not to take him to the place of the duel. His subconscious tells him to give up, but when he gets to school, everyone supports him. And the battle begins. The uncrowned Lord of the Sword delivers a crushing victory in one blow. His girlfriend comes up to him, they hug together and Ikki offers Stella to marry him and she agrees.